Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. Hi, I'm 38 female. I work as a cello trainer and take private classes. I have about 35 students who have performed all over the country, some even world, and I've won many competitions. My love for cello started when I was 5 when my grandfather took me to a cello concert. I was absolutely mesmerized. After that day, I would take my dad's old guitar, make it stand upright, and use it as a cello. I would pretend to play for hours. Seeing this, my parents knew that they should give cello lessons a chance and signed me up. For the first 2 months, I used my teacher's old cello to take home and practice. However, seeing how interested I was, my grandfather bought me a cello. My own cello. I was so excited and can easily say that that day was the happiest day of my life. I would practice for hours and neighbors around my house would stop by and sit on our porch to hear me practicing. We came from a kind of small city, so the exposure I got there was only so much. So after high school, I decided to go to Juilliard. I used to perform a lot at school, and there was this one girl, Rachel, who was a bully and also very jealous of me. She was a pianist herself, but wasn't appreciated as much. To be honest, she wasn't very good, but whatever. So for my final year of high school, I was asked to perform one last time before I left for Juilliard, which I actually got into. It was a very emotional moment for me. I was so excited. 10 minutes before my set, I went to the washroom to pee. I had left my cello in my case in the green room. While I was still in the washroom, I could hear multiple people screaming. I rushed out into the green room to see my cello broken into half. Rachel was standing, looking at me and smiling gleefully. I was so upset. I didn't care that I couldn't perform anymore, but was weeping because she broke the guitar that my grandpa gave me. He had died a year before that. The principal rushed in and tried to speak to me, but I was inconsolable. When the principal asked Rachel why she did that, she said, "Oops, I thought it was a prop." I was so mad. Cut to 20 years later, I had moved back to my city after a decade of performing across the globe. I had started taking classes there. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from an unknown number. As I was in class, I cut the call. After class, I called the number and a very familiar voice said, "Hello." I was a little taken aback. It was Rachel. She asked me how I was doing and how moving back had been. I said it was all good, but I didn't bother asking about her. She went on to tell me that her daughter was learning the cello and was doing quite well. She apparently had heard from the other students that there was a spot open and wanted to enroll her kid, and I said no. She said, "Can you please not hold on to the petty things we did as kids? My kid has a scholarship in line, so please don't hold grudges." I simply cut the call. Am I the a-hole? Update. Rachel somehow found my address and turned up at my doorstep one afternoon with her kid in tow. I did invite her in because her kid was there. She asked the kid to play for me and she did. She was okay. Rachel again asked me to take her child as a student. I kindly refused. Then she started screaming at me and calling me names in front of her kid. Then she said, "You know what? I'm glad I broke your cello that day." Her child gasped. Then she took her child and left. Well, that was embarrassing for Rachel. You're an adult now, OP. You're not a high schooler anymore. It's been years. You've grown and you've developed. I feel like as the adult that you are now, you shouldn't have rejected Rachel's kid. Especially if the only problem you have with the child is the fact that she's Rachel's kid. You shouldn't punish the kid for her mom's behavior. So I think everyone sucks here. Rachel sucks for obvious reasons. Hopefully she will learn well and change her ways. Story 2. To give some background, my sister cannot have kids. She has wanted a kid for a few years but doesn't want one that doesn't share the same DNA as her. Her words. She asked me if I would be willing to have a baby and give it to her, and I said no. So my sister and her husband moved into my parents' house as their house needs work. She said it would take 4 to 6 months before they could move back. My mom wanted to have a family dinner yesterday and had all of my siblings and I over. Before dinner, my sister asked if they could instead move in with us because it's closer to brother-in-law's job than my parents' home is, and she didn't want to live with my parents. I asked my boyfriend if it was okay, and we agreed to let them stay with us instead. That was until she started making jokes during dinner that I saw as a red flag. They were along the lines of, "You better hope I don't hide your birth control and you end up getting preggo." I kind of awkwardly laughed, and then she said, "Maybe I will poke a hole or two into your condoms." By then I stopped laughing and started to feel off vibes. I tried to steer the conversation onto something else, but she kept making the jokes. I didn't even last till the end of dinner and told her I changed my mind about them living with us because I didn't like her jokes. They all said I'm overreacting, and my boyfriend backed me up and said it wasn't funny. We left, and since then my siblings and parents have been calling me a drama queen and saying I blew it all out of proportion, and I'm making it seem like my sister is a bad person. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, OP. Your sister and your parents need some help if they think that her jokes were acceptable. You've shut down the idea of you giving her one of your kids if you got pregnant. It's really creepy and obnoxious that she keeps bringing it up. If she acts like this when she hasn't even moved in yet, you would be in for trouble. They can just stay with the parents. Maybe your mom will offer to have a kid for her. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole, the grains of truth that most humor contains feel more like a sandbox, beach, or perhaps an entire desert of truth in your sister's material. Even if she was just joking, she wasn't respecting your feelings when you made it clear that her comments made you feel awkward. And that's also not a great recipe for harmonious roommates. Not the a-hole. Don't for 1 second kid yourself that she's joking. She isn't. She is deliberately putting herself in a position to make her twisted little fantasy become a reality. And even at the longest stretch, she was actually joking. It would have been dropped after you requested her to. Reddest of red flags are out in full view. Doesn't sound very hidden to me. She just has an agenda. That being said, I might have let one of these jokes slide, but her repeating these jokes against all efforts to change the topic shows something very clearly. She's constantly thinking about sabotaging your birth control. And from there, and living in your house, it's only a small step to actually follow through on this joke. Especially if she thinks that her reward will be her heart's desire, a child of her own, with her own DNA. I have to agree though, these aren't jokes, these are threats. Take them seriously. Story 3. My ex 25 female and I 27 male were together for about 6 months, but during that time we were free to see other people. Things weren't working out, so we broke up. Over a month after that, she finds out she's pregnant and tells me the baby is mine, but I already knew she was seeing other guys, so it was also possible the baby isn't. She got mad that I was having doubts. But I said, if we got a paternity test and it showed I'm the dad, then yeah, I will 100% be involved. My ex didn't want that and said she would rather wait until after the baby is born to get a test done, so I said that's fine, it's her choice. But I won't get myself involved unless I know the baby is mine. Like, I already know I could be set up for child support if I start helping out now, and then later it's revealed I'm not the father. I live in the US and have heard this stuff happens a lot. I would rather not even risk it, you know. She's about 8 months old now, and I have started saving up money, reading up some books and making shopping cart lists of baby clothes and furniture to buy in case I am the father. So it's not like I'm not preparing for this at all. So right now money is tight with her, since I know she's only working part-time. She doesn't have the money for a baby bassinet or clothes because she practically lives paycheck to paycheck. She started asking to let her borrow money for baby stuff, but I've told her no. As far as I know, she doesn't have any other family she's close to, and friends are the same as her with money. But I already said I will start giving her money and helping her out once I know her son is mine. Otherwise, I would rather not get involved. I've even told her to reach out to the other guys who could also be the dad, but she said, one is even more broke and the other she hasn't been able to contact. So for right now, it seems like I'm the only one actually able to offer financial support. We have a couple mutual friends and I'm getting shit from them because they know I have the money to help out. She could be the mom of my kid, so the least I could do is provide. They say they would if they had the money, since I do have the means and this baby could be mine. I should already be helping. They have a point. The baby could be mine and I will be happy to help out once I know he is in fact mine, but everyone else is seeing it as I'm being too cold and inconsiderate. I don't think I am, but want to know what others believe. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Your legal concerns are extremely valid. You've offered her a compromise and she doesn't want it. Of course everyone around you would help if they could, but of course they also never will. If you want them off your back, tell them that you cannot do anything for fear of there being legal repercussions. Also get some legit legal advice. It's even more ridiculous because in utero paternity testing no longer requires an amniocentesis and can now be done by a simple and relatively inexpensive blood test. Sounds like she was trying to stretch it out as long as possible to hopefully get him to cave and cough up some money because she's not certain the baby is even his. Stand your ground, OP. You're doing the right thing. Oof, definitely not that then. I can kinda understand her trepidation. She has a lot to lose if you're not the father. You're absolutely not the a-hole. I feel a bit sorry for her, but pity for her doesn't make you a bad person for not being her savior. If you're feeling insanely super generous, you could give her a baby shower gift once the DNA test results are in if you're not the dad. But that is absolutely not an obligation, and it's not something you are morally required to do. It would be like hero levels of nice.